So you're sinning the Iron Giant, huh?
How dare you! You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words.
Also, 13 seconds of terrible logos.
In the eye of a hurricane, there are...
Function 42069. Skip.
Okay, riding your bike down this hilly road seems fun, but you gotta remember the steep-ass, grueling climb to get up there in the first place. Big picture, people. Big picture.
Oh, look at that. One of those sins that's not really a sin and is only included because this movie is fantastic and there aren't that many things to nitpick. It's almost like hills are a natural occurrence and not something the city put there to make life difficult for the inhabitants.
Haha, Bird Landing. The only more obvious movie reference to its director is Alfred Hitchcock's cameo in The Birds when he came on screen and kicked Tippi Hedren in the shin.
See the previous sin.
An unidentified flying object.
Unidentified? Well, knowing you, Earl, I'd say it was either whiskey or beer.
Yeah, alcoholism is hilarious.
The scene is trying to elicit that the captain is usually drunk, so the townspeople have a hard time believing anything he says. But sure, let's misrepresent the film and say that they're laughing at alcoholism.
I'd like to apologize to everyone in advance for this.
Why'd Dean whip out his Chippendales right in front of everyone instead of running outside? Or, like, the bathroom?
I'm sure if you had a squirrel trying to gather your nuts for the past 5 minutes, you wouldn't have tried to run to the bathroom. I'm just saying, if I had one of these little guys around the boys, I don't care who sees my dick.
Also, a squirrel up a man's pant leg would result in shredded pants and shredded flesh. Has movie ever squirreled before?
But you just suggested he wait until he was outside to pull him out. Have you ever squirreled before?
Stupid antenna.
Holy shit, Hogarth scales this roof easier than a shirtless Brad Pitt.
Jeremy makes a once upon a time in Hollywood pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the film cliche.
This is a great reveal, but what the was the Iron Giant looking at before he turned his head? The power plant is right there.
Exactly. He probably just now noticed it. As you can clearly see, Giant has zero qualms about acting on his impulses and was probably searching for food at that moment. Also, Jeremy sins something he likes cliche.
He may only be in the 3rd grade, but Hogarth is definitely attending the Prometheus School of Running Away from Things.
Considering this movie came out and is chronologically set before Prometheus, Hogarth invented the Prometheus School of Running Away from Things.
Hogarth?
Damn, I've never seen anyone react to a blackout that quickly and calmly. That's magic, actually. She didn't even miss a single step.
You'd be surprised at the hardiness of rural people. If you want to see some unflappable mofos, just take a trip outside the city.
It goes on. Ow, son of a bitch! God damn you! I'm gonna shoot you right between the fucking eyes, bitch!
This power plant has a giant singular on-off switch, and Hogarth not only knows this, he locates it with ease.
What is this sin for? The fact that the plant has a giant on-off switch, that Hogarth knows about it, or that he locates it? Because the only reason he knows about it is because he saw it from afar. I would have agreed with this sin if you'd stopped at giant on-off switch, but then you went and ducked it up talking about him knowing about it because he clearly didn't.
Also, Hogarth's instincts are pure here. He wants to stop another being from suffering. But what if the Iron Giant wasn't so friendly? Or so friendly? What if he'd been 100% hostile? And Hogarth saved him from certain death by electrocution? That would make Hogarth kind of a dickhead, no? Historically speaking? What I'm saying is history will judge your actions and their outcomes, not your motives.
Imagine dropping all that philosophical mojo jojo on a 9-year-old kid. It's almost like Jeremy is trying to teach children that they shouldn't value life and to think about the ramifications preserving it could have sometime in the far future. Great role model, guys. Good job.
Yo, I know Hogarth's mom was all...
I'm not in the mood.
When he was trying to tell her about the giant before, but he's literally standing right behind them now. Just tell her to stop the car and turn the hell around, man.
Dude, Hogarth was literally yelling and jumping around trying to get his mother to believe him, and she yelled at him.
It's 100 feet high!
Hogarth!
And it eats metal!
Stop it!
She's not about to stop the car and turn around just because he did something he already tried to do.
Dude, I hate to belabor this point, but look at what the ground just did! Tell me again how this motherfucker is sneaking around eating government automobiles without anyone noticing.
Because he's in the goddamn woods for half the movie, and the movie shows Hogarth and his mother to be the only people that live nearby. This is further emphasized after the scene Giant gets hit by the train and Kent's only access to a phone was Hogarth's house.
So, I guess you're not gonna hurt me, huh?
Laughably large leaps in logic.
Yes, that is exactly what you just did, considering the scene shows Giant mimicking Hogarth and making no attempt to harm him when he's had, like, a lot of time to do so.
My own giant robot. I am now the luckiest kid in America. This is unbelievable.
Is the Giant seriously bored by Hogarth's hemming and hawing here? He's only had like 30 minutes of human contact, and he's already getting tired of their bull. Damn, dude, try getting through an episode of The View.
It amazes me that people still come to my channel and ask me why I make these videos. Jeremy is trying to say that the Giant is bored in this scene. Where the fuck is he getting this? It couldn't possibly be from the scene itself because Giant is clearly interested in everything Hogarth is saying.
Sure, the Iron Giant ends up okay because of his radar repairable thingamajig, but what about the train conductor? He's dead as right? And yes, we see later that he's not, but how is he not?
People survive train crashes every day, B.
Holy portion sizes, Batman! Would you look at how much mac and cheese Mom made for 2 people?
Ever heard of leftovers? Besides, I love mac and cheese. I could eat that shit all day. Incidentally, I also love the sound of mac and cheese.
This is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, as Hogarth's prayer gets more and more emphatic as he tries communicating with the metal hand. But there's still no way that hand got in the house without being heard.
Jeremy sends something he likes cliche.
Tomorrowland. Promise of things to come.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Brad Bird, George Clooney, Damon Lindelof, huge budget, and yet...
Awesome. A whole other movie that has nothing to do with this one somehow is something wrong with this one.
Do you have a telephone I could use?
Yes, there's one in the kitchen.
I know this is the 50s and all, but Rachel doesn't ask at all who this asshole is before inviting him into her house?
Jeremy answers himself cliche. Besides, Kent introduced himself twice.
Honestly, this is the stupidest hand since the dude that got killed just before Ned Stark took the job.
Jeremy makes a Game of Thrones pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the film cliche.
Oh, you're hungry, aren't you?
A robot's tummy probably doesn't rumble, even if he does, for some reason, need to eat metal now and then. This is just weird anthropomorphizing to make us like the Iron Giant more.
The Iron Giant isn't just a robot. He's alive, and if he does need to eat, he obviously has some way of processing that matter. I also find it strange that you draw the line at stomach growling, but totally accept him having 2 forward-facing eyes, 5 fingers, and standing upright on 2 legs. Face facts, he's been anthropomorphized from the beginning and clearly looks like a member of the hominid apes.
Pick me up, okay?
Man, like a day ago he was doing rock, rock, tree, tree, individual word for this giant dumbass. But now he's just speaking regular English to him and the robot understands everything. And it's a kid's movie and stuff, yeah, but that is a cheat and I cannot let it go unseen.
Or maybe he's an advanced alien from another planet and learns things very quickly?
These pink things on the window are parking tickets, but I legit thought they were the bare feet of love-making teenagers the first time I saw this movie. So when Hogarth tells Iron Giant to eat the car and then the car gets towed, I was like panicking.
So wait, that was the sin? Your lack of perception skills was a sin for this film?
Thank God this restaurant being advertised is called Cosmo Burger, so that a saluting robot on the billboard would make complete sense to anyone only casually looking. Like, if this had been Circus Burger, they'd have been discovered instantly, right?
So you believe the word Cosmo means giant metal man? Here I thought Cosmo was a reference to the cosmos. You know, stars and shit? I mean, you'd have to have foreknowledge that Giant was from space for this to make sense, Jeremy.
Hey, I know you.
Man, Harry Connick Jr. sure was the Matthew McConaughey of the 90s, wasn't he?
No, Matthew McConaughey was the Matthew McConaughey of the 90s.
This is espresso.
Giving a child espresso. God, even a junkyard artist would know better.
Well, Dean did try to warn him, but Hogarth insisted and said,
Yeah, I drink it. I'm hip.
I don't know. This is espresso, you know? It's like CoffeeZilla.
I said I'm hip. He's my friend.
He got a friend in Hogarth.
Jeremy makes a Toy Story pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the film cliche.
Cosmo Nut cereal. Burgers and now cereal? Exactly how many pies does this Cosmo company have their fingers in?
You'd be surprised at what companies actually manufactured in the 50s. I mean, Nintendo is very well known for Super Mario, but did you know they also made rice and ran a love hotel business? It gives a whole new meaning to Mushroom Kingdom, if you know what I'm saying.
We are going to destroy it before it destroys us!
This shake shop is packed, but no one says shit about the gigantic adult loudly threatening the tiny child.
Welcome to the 50s.
This is so dangerous!
But also so f***ing fun.
Why is the Iron Giant still biting cars and silos on farms when he has a junkyard to feast on? Or are all these pre-junkyard attacks? Movie doesn't care, so why should I?
Anyone with half a brain could tell you this is obviously before he got into the junkyard. This means the entire 5-man crew you have at CinemaSins completely misunderstood this scene. 5 people, and not one of you thought this was a dumb thing to put in a video that'll be seen by millions.
It's dead.
Movie goes full Bambi 2/3 of the way through, and movie should know you never go full Bambi.
Jeremy makes a Tropic Thunder pop culture reference.
This is only a bad dream.
Holy f***, it chloroformed a child. I don't care if it is the 50s. They didn't even do that on Mad Men.
And somehow you still don't recognize that just because a movie is animated doesn't mean it's a kid's movie. I guess if Megamind would have Bill Cosby'd Roxanne, you'd have gotten the point.
Where is it? What? You know darn well what?
Why didn't Mansley at least try to confirm the existence of this robot before calling in the army? Like, he's been shown to be a pretty dedicated investigator, and he had actionable intelligence about the junkyard, but he didn't want to check for himself even when Hogarth was knocked out?
Kent is already convinced the giant exists, as he has photographic evidence, witness testimony from the train crash, and a confession from Hogarth. Hell, his car was eaten. How much more evidence do you need?
You'll be chief inspector of subway toilets by the time I'm finished with you.
Is that a real army position? Or NSA or whatever? Don't they just hire janitors or make privates clean the bathrooms? And then maybe someone checks the work, but is there a chief inspector?
CinemaSins asks this question. Yep, that's the sin.
I see why Hogarth sneaks out here.
You mean you know about that?
Now I do.
And I'm completely casual about my 9-year-old son hanging out with a single junkyard owner with a soul patch.
That's Beatnixus.
It was defensive.
Well, yes, it was. But why was it so defensive to a toy gun? Did the toy manufacturer get too close to the real thing when designing an alien gun? Does any gun set off the giant? What about a rubber band gun? Finger guns? My point is, the gun set it off so it was defensive is yada yada harder than whatever Elaine skipped over in order to mention the lobster bisque.
Try this out. You're on an alien planet and one of those aliens points something at you that vaguely resembles a giant dildo. Are you sticking around to find out what they're going to do with that thing, or are you defending yourself? Also, Jeremy makes a Seinfeld pop culture reference.
Giant, come back!
Wait, when did we decide his name was Giant? I know it's the name of the movie, but we didn't get one of those scenes where Hogarth was like, what should I call you? So what gives? Hell, Peter had a whole 10-minute sequence with his suit in Spider-Man Homecoming before we figured out he was going to go with Karen.
This is Jeremy, right now, asking for a scene where a 9-year-old kid decides to name a giant, Giant. Nope, that's the sin.
Help! Somebody help me!
Man, I love this movie, but it has time for this super contrived bull to uncover Giant's identity after all the we've seen about him being completely unnoticed in the town.
It's almost like superhero movies have moments the hero gets to prove themselves or something.
The Giant's got the kid with him.
I'll take care of it. He says the monster's killed a kid.
First off, everyone heard that whole exchange, so how would Mansley be able to pull off this ruse?
Because he's telling it to the one person with the authority to make any decisions and who happened to not be within earshot.
Second, why are they not chasing the giant robot? They have cars and trucks and tanks and that asshole should be super easy to track.
Couldn't possibly be a part of this scene missing explaining why they stopped chasing the giant, could there? Oh wait, there is. Oh, sure, his mom all of a sudden can follow Hogarth down to the end of the town, but no one else can. First of all, it's all of a sudden, not all the sudden. That's just as bad as I could care less. Second, of course she could follow Hogarth, because she wasn't stopped by Dean, you big goof.
How does a robot pass out? He's a robot. He doesn't even have lungs.
Again, the giant isn't a robot. He's a metal organic life form that is obviously alive. Even if he were just a robot, robots can power down, and that would be the equivalent of passing out.
I've been pro-Iron Giant all movie, but he straight up murders innocent soldiers here. And yes, Mansley is evil and convinced the general to order military action, but still, most of these fools he's offing are just following orders. Murder is murder.
I like how you suggest murder is murder, but then try to rationalize the army attempting to murder the giant as people that are just following orders. Not to mention, you're showing a scene of the movie making it explicitly clear the humans got out of the tanks before Giant destroyed them.
Hogarth!
He's unconscious, but he's okay.
Damn, for a beatnik junkyard artist, Dean sure is a fantastic diagnostician.
these laughs.
You want us to bomb ourselves in order to kill it?
I know, it's almost like he should be on the World Security Council from the Avengers.
Jeremy makes an Avengers pop culture reference that isn't a
Hold him, man. Make sure he stays here like a good soldier.
Nice to see Mansley get his comeuppance. But he also mentioned there's a fallout shelter nearby, and there's a goddamn nuke headed right to the town. Maybe direct the women and children that way, General, instead of being a smarmy butthole.
Jeremy, a fallout shelter protects from fallout. It's in the name. You would be that dumbass that heads to a fallout shelter to survive a nuke. Even the movie is smarter than you.
Shouldn't we get to a shelter?
It wouldn't matter.
If you know anything about local government, you know it's a miracle the funds for this Iron Giant statue memorial were ever awarded.
And if you were paying attention to the movie, you'd know that Dean built this statue because he's an artist that works with scrap. Kind of like me when I'm making these videos.
Because it's the hero Gotham deserves, but not the one it needs right now.
Superman.
I was going to say something along that line. It's complete horror.